Imagine that someone came to you and said, "Would you like to receive an ancient, sacred, secret code that can help you understand yourself and the world? It can help you cope with life better, feel a sense of purpose, become more successful in the world, while still being authentically yourself." Would you want that? Would you want to know about that? When approached in this right way, astrology is that code. We live at a time in history where many people study astrology, possibly more than in any other time in history. They use websites, magazines, sometimes a few books, but much of what they learn comes from their conversations with friends and acquaintances who have studied astrology in a similar way as they have. Their study is often quite random and even disorganized, as they are picking up information from wherever they can find it. As a teacher of astrology, I am happy that so many people today are enthused with what astrology offers. I know scientists and followers of traditional religions aren't nearly as happy about it as I am, but they lack the understanding of the value of this ancient field of study. Often, this approach to astrology results in a beginning student not being able to realize the depth and wisdom possible inherent in this study. How could it reveal its depths, given the degree to which society and even some astrologers trivialize the field, sometimes without knowing it? The deeper one goes into the study of astrology, the more one discovers how unfortunate this is, because only now are they able to see how valuable the study can be. I have been a therapist and a student of psychology for over 40 years, and I cannot understate how much I use astrology in my work with clients. Many years ago, the notion of applying astrology to therapy was taboo, so in the beginning I didn't even mention it. I certainly did not use any astrological terms in my work with clients, but it did help me understand the person sitting across from me much more than most people can imagine. I would now go so far to say that therapists who do not use astrology are actually operating with one hand behind their back without even knowing it. My decision to establish this school of astrology and metaphysics was motivated by all that I have just mentioned. It is both exciting and important to give interested students a chance to discover for themselves how deep and transformative studying astrology can be. Let's start by addressing what is likely to be the biggest misunderstandings that students of astrology often have. It is simply this: one's natal chart is not who you are. It is not static. Rather, one's chart can be considered to be a range of potentials that a person can actualize the more consciously they enter their life and fully participate in it. Yes, astrology does suggest that there's an aspect of fate in our lives. But exactly what does that mean, and is there free will? We must look at this question very closely. It's obvious to the practitioner that we do have free will. Thus, we must replace the idea of concrete prediction in favor of something else. So let's ask a new question. What can we do to expand our freedom? Isn't that a better question? We can move more into the present moment and make a conscious effort to examine and let go of our fears, much of which come from our programming and belief systems. This increases our self-awareness, and with that comes the ability to discover many levels of free choice points and how we can approach them successfully. Another way to express this is that the more we are aware and living from that place, from that awareness, the more we will be able to expand our decision space and see the options we do have. Thus, the greater the self-awareness, the greater our freedom of choice, and with that comes better quality decisions. Astrology in particular helps us understand the multitude of cycles we are in, which enables us to discover the free choice points in our life. This is done best by fulfilling the purpose of a given cycle. Astrology can help us not only know what the purpose is, but what we need to do to successfully navigate the challenges of that cycle. It was the astrologer Dane Rudhyar who first proposed a clear understanding of the archetypal nature of these cycles. He also regarded the chart as potentials rather than static facts. Life challenges us all the time to actualize our highest destiny, and astrology can be an essential tool to help us do that. He also was the first astrologer to use the term transpersonal psychology in connection with astrology, and he did so in 1930, long before the term became popularized in 1976 by Ken Wilber and many others. Rudyard's approach was that all cycles composed of a beginning, middle, and an end. As such, each cycle can be considered to be a whole. Further, each is part of a greater whole, and on it goes. Our evolution can occur as we fulfill the purpose of each cycle, which then leads us to the opportunity of expanding to larger participation with others and the world. This school regards astrology as more than an intellectual pursuit. It is a part of what has been referred to in the past as a school of wisdom, which means that it includes more than just gaining intellectual knowledge. All aspects of the school seek to enhance the quality of one's consciousness, and astrology is one of the ways that this can happen. The purpose of this school is to place the study and practice of astrology on a new footing. Here are just some of the facets that I emphasize in our curriculum that can help us accomplish this. First is to discover the nature of the archetype's underlying existence. The concepts of Carl Jung, developed further by Joseph Campbell, are difficult for some of us to understand. An archetype can be considered to be a universal theme that becomes specific for a particular person in a particular culture and background, etc. Astrology reveals how these archetypes work as the student discovers the signs and planets are archetypes in action in their own life. Number two is that we're not merely learning a new language, but also new concepts, some of which are psychological, while others are concerned with the nature of the transformational process. This is very important to recognize, as it might be different from what a student assumes. On one hand, this makes learning astrology a bit more complex, but it also makes it much more real. The study of astrology becomes far more valuable as the student can learn more about themselves and the world than one might expect. The third is to create a link between the study of astrology, metaphysics, and a transformational process. There will be many ways in which this will be shown, but chief among them is that the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are regarded as having a fundamentally different quality than the Sun, Moon, and the planet through Saturn. Number 4 has to do with discovering that the planets are both within us and outside us, and can be invoked. In many magical systems, such as the Golden Dawn and the OTO, rituals were created in order for the initiate to be able to feel, sense, and become the planetary energies that they had selected. For these people, the planets were something that could be experienced directly and in an intimate way. Thus, they were not thought of as mere intellectual concepts that could not be experienced. So for them, they were living the axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above, but after a different manner. The phrase, "we are the gods walking," is something a student can actually experience. Number 5, time possesses unique qualities in each moment and is not a mere quantifiable number. In our everyday lives, we assume that every moment is fundamentally the same as every other moment. For example, we believe that what's possible at 2 p.m. is the same as what's possible at 6 p.m. on the same day. The study of astrology reveals that this may not be true, that there are some things possible in one moment that are not possible in another. This is what is meant by time possesses unique qualities, and in each moment, rather than being a mere quantifiable number. The 6th idea is that the map is not the territory. A crucial part of our curriculum comes from this phrase, "the map is not the territory." It was expressed by Alfred Korzybski. His basic understanding was that while language gives us descriptions of reality, it's important to not think that these descriptions are reality itself. This truism is very important for a student of astrology because while we value the concepts that astrology reveals, it's very important to remember that behind these concepts is a mystery that is in itself beyond human understanding. Also, it's important for the student not to get hung up with identifications of these descriptions. We do that by saying such things as "I'm a Virgo" or "I'm a Capricorn" and things like that. The school places great emphasis on discussion, interaction, and sharing, as these increase the ability of the student not only to learn astrology, but to inquire into the new concepts being presented. As a student increases their understanding of astrology, they will also increase their understanding of other people and of life. This can lead to accepting others as they are, rather than how we wish them to be. Finally, the school assists students to become astrological counselors should they decide to do so. A counselor must have two skill sets. First, obviously, a knowledge of astrology, but second, counseling skills, so that one's consultations will not be mere readings.